Okay, so now I'm very intrigued here because obviously you've interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs and athletes from what I saw. What are the common traits that you'd say determined have differentiated the ultra successful, the successful, and the almost successful entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because I don't think necessarily success is the leading factor in terms of how my interviews have gone with particular people, but rather their personality and their internal characteristics. I'll give you a good example of this because we interviewed an alumni he's pretty young. I think he's just turned 30, and he has a company called Hempatecture. And what it is they created a insulation and concrete substitute out of hemp that it allows them to build construction, build insulation within houses. And it's not a massive company. It is rapidly growing. But the way that this individual was able to show his passion for not only sustainable corporate structures, but also his product specifically gave me a lot of like, man, this guy can be successful. This guy has what it takes. Conversely, I interviewed someone, and I won't say the specific institution, but a very, very large investment banking institution. And he was the head of it and very, very well known. And his interview with me was, to be frank, very boring. He and very corporate, very, vanilla, and didn't take any risks and didn't add anything that kind of was surprising. And so I think maybe for that specific field, that's the type of attitude you need to have. But I find that the most successful or the individuals that I give myself the most faith in that it's going to be a good, listen to episode are the ones who are not only passionate about what they do, but then also are just dynamic storytellers.
Got you. Okay, so there's got to be that attractive persona per se. Like you can't be that boring. I would say it like you have to be entertaining in everything that you do because, like why should somebody listen to you for 5, 10, 15 minutes? Like for instance, I just had a podcast yesterday with a very well accomplished franchise owner. And it was very entertaining because her podcast was, I mean, dude, we were saying words like shit, we were saying all sorts of stuff, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
perfect. This is what I want to talk about, And I'm not saying by far like the past guests I've had, but I've had guests where it just gets super technical, and you're like, dude, it's too technical, and then you kind of just get into that perspective where now, like for instance, if we talk a lot about software, now we just reduced our audience from like 80, 90% to about 5 to 10% of people that actually know about software and code. The rest of people are gonna be like, dude, this is not for me. I don't want to talk about this. And then boom, I think that kind of, but what's interesting is, and then let me know if you agree with this. There's a lot of businesses that started 10, 15 years ago before podcasting became a thing, aren't used to being relatable or being like
Mhm.
personable, right? Especially the founders, right? Because they just, like you said, the corporate guy is like, hey, I deal a lot of guys with suits. So this podcasting thing to me is kind of weird because now I got to sound natural, And
Right.
tell me, how much do you think people are attracted to that natural conversation from the CEO as opposed to that very robotic suit guy?
Yeah, I mean, we'll think about it, and especially I love listening to podcasts as a whole. I mean, the goal for anyone trying to interview someone else, you can look at some of the greats like Howard Stern, or you can look at some of the most popular podcasts on Spotify or whatnot. These individuals make the conversation very conversational, something that you almost make the other individual forget they have a microphone in front of them. And by doing that, the listener then feels like they're a part of the conversation when they're listening to it. They feel like they can that they're in the room with them while the conversation's happening, and that gives it that kind of almost fireside chat that allows the individual not only to stay entertained but feel like they're connected to the speakers in some sort of way.
Gotcha.